Of Industrial Arts and Automotive Technology at Humboldt State University. He was quite a machinist. Not only could he teach, but he could do. And at the time, I'm almost 50 now, but I bought a truck when I was 16, a 79 Dodge pickup, and he came out to help me with it. And I was throwing any kind of oil in there because I was just in a hurry to get going. And he recommended always keeping the same viscosity that's always been in the motor, whether the manufacturer recommended or a new mechanic builds a car and puts something different. You stick with it. And he explained it as migrating herds of animals, like cattle coming home to graze every year, that cut a trail. And they stomp on that trail, the weight, and over the years, that trail is visible, and nothing can grow on it. And they use that same trail year after year after year. And he suggested that oil viscosity has its own signature, microscopic signature that leaves the same kind of trail. And so that's something I keep in mind, if I put any additives like Lucas Oil, because this stuff's really thick. I mean, this is like, I don't know what weight this is, like 40. It is good stuff. There's a guy I follow, Project Farm on YouTube. He does all kinds of tests with a lawnmower and this stuff, and it's really amazing. And it's a great channel, Project Farm. Check it out. But I always keep it in mind whenever I put any additives that go with my oil, because you're altering viscosity. So I don't want to get too carried away.
What's going on, guys and girls? We're in the garage today for another discussion. Today, we're going to talk about oil. Let's get into it. So, I've been trying to figure out what's the best oil to use for this turbo. And based on the official information, they're telling me 530 for this 4-cylinder engine. But what's bothering me is that when I research videos on maintenance for the turbo, they always make a point to say how important it is to keep the turbo running smooth and efficient because it generates heat. Okay, the engine's generating heat, the turbo's generating heat, the turbo is using the engine oil to lubricate. In your cooling system, the same coolant that goes through the radiator into the engine block goes through the heater core. It's the same fluid. There's no difference. There's no separate. I don't know how to explain it. It's not separate. It's a channels, cut, drilled holes, passageways that lead from one point to the other point, and it uses that same fluid. And I say that because with the engine oil, it's the same thing. Now, I recently learned that there's a such thing as shear. And with the shear factor, your additive package, the detergents and other stuff that they put in the oil, has a point to where it breaks down. You might still have oil in the vehicle, but you have no protection. The oil gets dirty because it can't lose its ability to clean. It might start tapping because there's no wear protection. I don't know the formulas. I'm not a chemist. But from what I understand, the stuff breaks down. When you start your car up in the morning or in the afternoon, when you make that first start of the day, the engine is cold. They usually identify that with winter. I used to actually think they meant winter, but you don't always drive the car just in the winter. You know, most people drive their car all year round, so they're not actually talking about the winter as in the season. They're talking about the condition of the oil. It's cold. It hasn't been started like if it was in the winter. 0W, 5W, engine hasn't been started. You turn that switch, push that button. Now the oil has to flow from the bottom of the pan all the way up to the top of the engine, coat, lubricate, condition all the internal metals, and work its way back down. If it's too thick, you're going to have problems. Now, in addition to that, once the oil starts moving around, the additives start to thicken the oil. The additive package that they use, the extra ingredients they put in the oil, starts to thicken the oil. So now you go into the 20 weight, the 20, the 30, and the 40. I'm having a problem believing that a 5W30, in my case, a 5W30 is adequate enough for a vehicle without a turbo. But now the industry is telling me that I can use that same oil viscosity for a turbo, even though the vehicle is now generating more heat. So what changed? You telling me you're adding all these extra parts to this engine to make it run more fuel efficient. They're creating more heat, but I can use the same oil. Now, some people might have a grievance with what I'm saying, but think about it this way. Another example. GDI engines. When they first came out with GDI engines, they said it was great. It worked more efficient than the old engines. We now have figured out a way to put the injectors directly in the path of the combustion chamber. Great. But then people's engines start screwing up. They're taking it to the shop. The shop don't understand what's going on with it until one brave mechanic decided, let me tear this thing apart. And what did they find? They found out that the valves were sticking. The valves were sticking. That in itself is not a big problem. You just put some cleaner in it, in the fuel tank, and let it work through the system. But there's a slight problem with that. The injectors are no longer positioned behind the valves. So there's no way to clean it off unless you take it into the shop and have it professionally cleaned out, where they had to take your engine apart, clean it, and then put it back together. That is costly. So yeah, they call themselves saving money, by giving us direct injector engines. But they actually cost us more money because everything we have to go through to get the darn thing to work properly. So then, after all these complaints, they decide, maybe we made a mistake. We'll do both. We'll put a set of injectors behind the valves, and we'll put a set of injectors in the combustion chamber. So my thing, after learning all this information, is that you're in a lab, you're testing the motor for hours, but are you doing a temperature test? Why is it that these people can't do a simple test to see how the parts react to certain temperature changes? I know the government is tracking down on trying to save the environment, but most of the people in the government have no idea about chemistry, science. I barely know about it. That's why I follow other people. But after you've done something for so long, after you've driven your car for so long, and it starts acting funny, you know it. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but you know something ain't right. My car ain't running right. It just don't feel right. So you take it to the shop, they diagnose it, and voila, they find the problem. So let's I got a couple of more videos I want to share. We're gonna get into this.
Currently, right now, I'm using a Mobil 1 Advanced Full Synthetic Oil, and a couple of my subscribers and a couple of my other RSX owners told me that it burns, the Mobil 1 oil burns more oil compared against to the Castrol Edge oil, which I got here, and this is what I'm going to be testing today to see if there's any difference of burning oil. Because with the Mobil 1 oil that currently I'm using right now for the car, it burns quite a bit of oil. About every 1,000 miles I fill up about a quart or so. So it burns quite a bit. I'm going to be switching it to Castrol Edge right here, as I showed you guys. It is Advanced Full Synthetic. It says on here a GDI Turbo formula, and for a gasoline engine, it says the badge right here. So that's the three things I was looking for when I bought the oil. It was a little bit cheaper than a Mobil 1 oil, but let's see how this oil performs.
So I was just changing out my oil, and I always use Castrol Edge. I wanted to take a second to kind of just call out how amazing their product is. I don't know if it's just dumb luck or the fact that their product is this amazing, but I've been using this for probably better part of almost 15 years. 3 different cars, all high mileage. I got 180 on my Jeep. I had 180 on a Chevy Cavalier, which is far from being an amazing product. I've never had a mechanical failure. No engine components have ever failed me while I've been using Castrol Edge. I always use it with the Napa Platinum filter. The more surface area, the better, I always figure. I love the product. I just thought I'd give them a, nice little nod.
Alright guys, we're getting towards the end of the video. So you heard a couple of people talk about how they like the Castrol Edge. One person actually said that they switched from Mobil 1 to Castrol Edge. But if all oils sold in America are held to the same standard, professional standard, then they should all work the same. But there is a difference. The additive package. That's the special ingredients. That's the special sauce that varies across different oils. The Castrol Edge, the Mobil, the Valvoline, everybody has a different additive package. The names that I hear most are magnesium, zinc, titanium. There's a couple other ones I can't think of right now unless I'm looking at the bottle. I took pictures of the back of the bottle because as I'm reading the label, there's a section towards the middle or the bottom of the bottle that I'm pretty sure most people don't read. I myself don't really read it because I'm listening to the commercials, I'm listening to other YouTubers, and as soon as I hear that it's LSAC approved, I'm like, okay. So I go to the store, Walmart or wherever. I look on the the back of the bottle, and it says meet or exceed the requirements of LSAC GF6A. The API, SP. I'm reading off of this, so I'm not just pulling it out of thin air. Let me see if I can turn this. I don't want the glare to keep you all from seeing. So yeah, it says LSAC GF68 API SP SN plus SN. I don't know why they put the SN plus before the SN. SM. It's got the little circle on there. API service. So as I'm reading the bottle in the shop, I'm looking down. I just keep reading. And then I notice this. Recommended by ExxonMobil for use in applications requiring, what does that say? Ford. It's like when you get a product to use to clean and it says for best use our towel or use this other product with it and it'll work better. So what they're saying is you can use this for any car you want to, but the way Ford makes this particular engine, it'll work better. Has the following builder approvals. It's also approved for GM Dexos Gen 3, Honda, and Acura. Okay. So, why so specific? Why so specific? And this was, let's see. What bottle? Yeah, I just said it. Mobil. This is the Mobil one. Why so specific? I believe the reason why they get specific information on the back of the bottle is because the additive package. The additive package is different, reacts different for different manufactured engines. So Mobile One is telling you you can use this for any vehicle you want, but it's going to work better for this specific type of engine. It's going to work better. And then on top of that, it's not just Ford. Because if you look right up under where it says LSAC, what does that say? Chrysler. It says Chrysler first. It gives you the serial number, code number, and then it says Ford. Meet or exceed the requirements of Chrysler and Ford. So if it's saying meet or exceed, it means it's good to use in a Chrysler or Ford product. Maybe not all of them because it's giving you a specific number, but who checks plate numbers unless you just very, very thorough, a mechanic, top-notch mechanic. Nobody checks plate numbers. Recommended by ExxonMobil. Applications requiring, and then it goes to Ford. So it's saying that the Mobile, what I'm gathering, this is just my opinion, but from what I'm gathering, it's saying that this oil works best in Chrysler, Ford vehicles. And you can also use it in GM and Honda, but more so Chrysler and Ford. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm not too far off the beaten path. Not if you got other people on YouTube saying, oh, I switched my oil from this because it's burning, and the oil's not cleaning up all the carbon deposits and this, that, and the third. No, I can't be too far off if other people are complaining about it. But hey, maybe it's just this particular oil. Maybe it's just Mobile oil. I'm looking for the LSAC. This is Castrol. Approved and licensed specifications. Now everybody knows what specific means. Specifications. Then it goes into Spanish. Exceeds LSAC. GF6. I don't know what that is. And then the first one they show is GM Dexos. And this is the older bottle. Gen 2. Honda. And then it tells you, oh, by the way, you can also use this in your Chrysler vehicles and your Ford vehicles. So what's the difference where you have to put mention of GM first and then Chrysler and then Ford? Whereas with Mobile One, they put Ford and Chrysler first and then they say, oh yeah, by the way, you can use it for GM too. And like I said, like I let you listen to, the gentleman in the other video, he said he was switching from Mobile One to Castrol based on a recommendation that somebody gave him because somebody else was having problems. It's not that it's not a good oil, but the additive package that they use for their oil don't hit the same like the Castrol do. So Castrol is telling you, look, we got you. We've been working on our formula, and if you got a GM Dexos you good. Now, the Gen 3 is already out. I think it came out last year, maybe the year before. So they have improved their additive package so that you can continue on using this product in the GM. But hey, you know, maybe some people think I'm just a GM fanboy, so before I go to the other one, as I said, the GM Dexos 3 is already out. There you go. Approved and licensed specifications exceeds API SP SM Plus. And it goes right back to the same information. GM Dexos. It goes to GM first. Gen 3 meets Ford. Two different Ford applications. I don't know which engines those are. I don't know which Ford cars those are. Anybody who's a Ford fan, hey, the information is here for you to pick up. I'm not a big Ford fan. I've driven Ford. There are some Fords that I like, but my default is GM. Jaguar Land Rover engine. It has a number for that, a code for that. And then at the bottom, meets engine test requirements of Honda and Chrysler. So how come Mobil 1 couldn't do that? Again, it's because of the additive package. Each company does its own thing. And last but not least, because there's too many bottles of oil in the world, let's see, Valvoline. I too made a switch. I switched from Valvoline to Castrol. And every time Valvoline would improve their formula, I'd run right back to Valvoline. And when it stopped working efficient like it used to, I'd go back to Castrol. When I had two vehicles, I just put Valvoline in one and I put Castrol in the other one. But I always use those two. So Valvoline says same thing. And all preceding API and LSAT gasoline categories. Additional specifications. See, this is what's getting me. It keeps saying additional. Like it's telling you, okay, the industry is saying we gotta meet this standard. Now, we want you to buy ours over the other ones. So we're gonna put this additional information. Not only did we meet the industry standards, but this thing is good enough for such and such motor. This thing is good enough for. And in the case of Valvoline, I feel like when I'm just in the case of Valvoline, additional specifications, Ford, then GM, and maybe I missed something, but I don't remember seeing anything about any other vehicles, especially no Nissans. And what did the gentleman say? He had a Nissan R something, I think, and he was using Valvoline. It's not that Valvoline is not a good oil. It's a good oil. It has a good additive package according to some YouTubers. But according to the back of the bottle, if you're looking for oil for a specific type of motor, it's listing Ford first. I don't know what motor that is, what car that is, but it's definitely listing Ford. And then it's listing GM. Out of all the ones that I've showed you, Castrol I can't get it to expand right now. But yeah, Castrol and Mobil 1 are showing. Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. I'm gonna do something a little unconventional. I like doing unconventional stuff. You know, that's how scientists usually figure out the next step of evolution in technology, is because they're doing unconventional stuff. Well, what if we do this? What if we do that? Now this is a bottle of 40 weight that I picked up by mistake. I was looking on the shelf, was like, okay, 30 weight. I only need one bottle. And when I get back to the shop and I'm looking at it again, I'm like, why does it say Euro? Somebody put it in the wrong spot. And I was in a hurry. I knew what I wanted, and I thought that was the right bottle, but it's still Castrol. I'll use it for something. I'm not going to let it go to waste. Now, on the 40 weight, the 5W40 Castrol. See, I'm trying to focus here so you guys can see what I see. Approved and licensed specifications. And it says BMW first. Then it says approved, a serial number. I don't know what model that is. Then it says Porsche, Renault. Then towards the end it says VW. So BMW first, Porsche, then VW. Meets engine test requirements. Spanish, and then it says Chrysler. So it's saying that this 40 weight version of Castrol Edge will work in any vehicle, but specifically it will work in BMWs. But aside from that, you can also use it for Porsche, VWs, and some Chryslers. Here, Chrysler is at the bottom. On the other bottle, Chrysler was at the top, and on another bottle, Chrysler was like in the middle. But you didn't have BMWs on there. On all the other bottles, you didn't have BMW or VW or Porsche. And as a matter of fact, I don't see Ford on here at all. There's no Ford product on here at all. I hope you guys can see that. I couldn't get the camera to adjust, so I just put my phone in front of it, use it as a magnifying glass. But yeah, it's showing Porsche, VW, BMW at the top of the list, and Chrysler near the bottom. Doesn't show it's not showing a what's the name at all. It's not showing Ford or GM. But why not? This is the Mobil 1. And the first thing on there is Chrysler. That's 530. So yeah, that interests me. Why do people feel the need to switch the oil that they've been using? You know, you use the same oil time and time again, regardless of what vehicle you get. Then you get another vehicle, and now the oil that you've grown accustomed to is failing you. It's not that the oil is a bad oil. It's got a specific additive package that works well with certain types of engines. There's a guy on YouTube, the Oil Geek, and he breaks down he's very detailed when it comes to oil analysis, how the oil package, the additive packages break down, and he did a segment once on piston rings. I can't remember it. The dude is good. I learned a lot. I can't say I remember offhand everything, but the Oil Geek, look him up. I would say, if you want to understand how to keep your motor running better based on the type of oil you put in there, Ford Boss, Oil Geek, and of course Project Farm. You hear everybody talks about Project Farm. That guy is, shout out to Project Farm. Great guy. I haven't met him in person, but his presentation on YouTube, the way he breaks down the oil examples. But yeah, I just recently started following the Oil Geek. So those three people, between those three, you will definitely have a better understanding of oil. It's not just the oil. I mean, yeah, the oil lubricates, but there's other things going on. I didn't know, for instance, that oil foams up. Like, what? So they have to put something in the oil to keep it from foaming up. So it has to lubricate the engine, not foam up, start up when it's cold, not burn off when it's extremely hot. They get all kinds of stuff that they put in the oil to keep it cohesive because of the temperature change. And yet and still, manufacturers want to tell us, oh, well, you can use this oil, it's good. You can use this viscosity, it'll work. But then you get people saying, after the first 7,000 miles, it don't hit the same. I'm going to have to change brands. So, I'm going to stick with 530 for now. I'm going to use that in my next oil change and see what happens. I'm going to switch back to Castro myself. I've been using Valvoline most of the time. In my other vehicle, I lost a quart, it burnt off, so I went and got a quart of Mobil. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I just was wondering if anybody else had that same experience. So I hope this information was helpful. And until next time, I'll see you out on the road.